Thank you for tuning in one more time. This is your host, Camila from MCN Marketing Firm. And today I have the pleasure to have a very good friend, John Méndez, who is an AI coach, speaker, and a podcaster. Welcome, John.
Camila, I am super excited to be here. I was talking to my buddy Brandon. We had a 2-hour drive, which was nice, and we had a lot of time to talk and prep. And so I'm excited to just finally be here. You know, I've known you for a while now. I've known Guillermo and his team over at 5 Stars for quite a while now. A lot of people don't know, but Guillermo, I think he was my 4th ever public speaking engagement, and one of the first people. I think Guillermo's 5 Star was the first in-person speaking engagement in Connecticut that I had. So I'm excited to see all the amazing things you guys put together, and I'm excited to have this conversation today.
Thank you so much for making that drive. Really, I know how hectic it's coming from Stamford all the way to Hartford. But hey, when you want something and you're willing to do it, here you are.
Mm-hmm.
They got here at 9 a.m. So just make the math. What time he had to wake up? Was that hard?
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah, but we made it. It was perfect, and we're here.
John, so I want to get to know you a little bit more.
Sounds good.
I'm sure the audience too. We have heard you multiple times everywhere in social media talking about AI.
Mm-hmm.
But today, I want to talk about you.
Okay.
Who really is the successful AI coach behind the scenes? Tell me a little bit about how was middle school and high school life?
So middle school for me was pretty interesting. I feel like middle school, I played a lot of video games. Middle school is also where I finally got introduced into sports. We didn't have much growing up, so I think my first sport I ever played was baseball. I think that was 5th grade year, and then middle school, I ended up going into basketball and football, which then helped me develop a lot into the man I am today. But middle school was interesting. That's also where I built my sense of humor, I like to say.
Okay.
I was sick and tired of all my boys roasting me every day. And eventually I had to stick up for myself, either keep getting bullied by my boys or fight back. And so that's where I feel like I got my sense of humor. So middle school was an interesting time period for me. That was, again, before my growth spurt. So I think I didn't break 100 pounds until I think 8th grade. I was tiny, very, very scrawny.
Teeny.
Yeah, that was before I found out I had curly hair, right? That's what everyone knows before. That's an interesting story.
Which I'm really sad about. He cut it.
So I'll tell you that story because I don't get to share it often. But my 8th grade year, up until that point in time, my uncle primarily cut my hair growing up. So I'd always get a buzz cut. And my hair doesn't curl up when it's short. Mm-hmm. So my 8th grade year, I remember like it was yesterday. One day my boy came into school and he had this fresh haircut. And I'm like, yo, bro, you got to tell me like what you ask your barber. Mm-hmm. He was like, bro, just go. Next time you go to the shop, just ask for a taper fade. I'm like, a taper what? A taper fade. I'm like, okay, cool. That's all I remember. So next time I needed a haircut, I remember going to the barber shop and I asked for a taper fade. And I remember I got home. I looked so clean. I was walking back to the house. That's before my grandparents didn't drive. So I had to walk back home. And I would look in every car window and just see my reflection. I was like, yo, tomorrow it's going to be a good day at school. I was so excited. Picked out my hair, went to bed, woke up that next morning. It was like the first day of school all over again. I had my outfit already laid out for me. I had like a red polo Abercrombie shirt, some black cargo pants, and then I only had one pair of Jordans, my red Bulls over Broadway 10s. And I remember picking out my hair that morning. I looked good. I felt good. Started walking to middle school, and it was drizzling a little bit. So my hair, I guess, got a little wet. And at that point in time, I didn't know I had curly hair because, again, remember, I always cut my hair low, and my hair doesn't curl up that much when it's low. And so I remember getting to school, I looked in a mirror and my hair had gotten wet and it was like wavy. The curls were starting to form. And I'm like, oh my goodness, bro, what on earth is like, I left my pick at home so I couldn't even pick it out and get it right.
Oh my God.
So I was miserable. This is, I remember walking into homeroom that, it was this 8th grade year. And I was so sad. I'm like, yo, this ruined my whole outfit. My day is ruined. Everything is over. And I remember walking into that homeroom, and all I hear is, "Okay, John." I'm like, oh shoot, me. And so that was when I knew, like, okay. And that whole day, I felt like $1,000,000. I felt like I was the man around town. Yeah. They had the new haircut, the fresh fit on, you know. And
so they love the curly. You were embracing those curls.
Yeah. So that's how I realized that I had curly hair. And then from that in high school, I started to take care of more of it. And then eventually in the future, when I got into business, that kind of became what everyone knew me for. But it all started that 8th grade year when I got that first taper fade, walked into school, and that changed history forever.
John, so what's your background?
Yeah,
Because
so
I know that you got some Spanish on you,
yes.
but you speak a little
I'm
bit.
fluent in Spanish. We could do this whole podcast in
I
Spanish if you wanted
see.
to. Claro.
Okay.
Yo soy un tigre. So, half Dominican, half Guatemalan. My
Wow.
Dominican side raised me. So, my grandparents on my Dominican side raised me. My mom, she was around, but she was like emotionally absent. My dad was physically absent, so he wasn't around. Grandparents stepped up to the plate. So, those are my pops, my grandparent, my
Oh,
grandma.
beautiful. So
And then,
that was your childhood
yeah, that was my
up
childhood.
until when were you with your grandparents?
So I'm still with my grandparents to this day. Yeah, so I'm still living with my
Wow.
grandparents. They took care of me as if I was one of their own, and they instilled in me a lot of old school traditional values, which I really
Wow.
took to heart. One of the things, I'll give you an example. So one of the things up here nowadays, when you're walking around, you'll see everyone on their phone. My
Mm-hmm.
grandpa, when we were younger, we didn't have a car, so we walked everywhere. And I remember he would always see people, and in passing, he kind of did like that universal like head nod,
Yeah.
and smile. And I used to be so confused, and I wonder like why my grandpa would do that. Mind you, he speaks no English. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
Grandpa, you don't even know these people. Like, why are you always doing that?
Were you always in Connecticut?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Stamford, lived there my whole life.
Oh my
Yeah, so I remember asking my grandpa like, why are you doing that? And as I got older, I mean, when I was younger, I had secondhand embarrassment. But then as I got older, I realized like, oh, that's just something you do. You greet people, you smile,
God.
you
Mm-hmm.
wave, you just give
Mm-hmm.
them, even if it's small, but that's just something you do. And he was so charismatic. And so like little things like that kind of helped make me the person who I am today. And again, having that Dominican culture, I feel like that's why I'm so energetic, so lively. Again, my grandpa,
That's from
he
mom's side.
that's from the mom side, right? So although I have Guatemalan in me, I'm a tigre at heart. I can't take it out of me.
Oh
So
my God, this
puro tigre,
guy.
ya tú sabes. Yeah.
That is beautiful. So a lot of your childhood memories comes from your grandparents, and a lot
hmm
of the men that you are right now, it comes built on from your grandparents. That's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, no, they did play a good part. But growing up, I always ask me like, in school they ask, who's your mentor, who's someone you look
Mm-hmm.
up to. It's always hard for me because yeah, my grandparents raised me, but I grew up on the projects, and so like I was always outside. I was always
Get in
running
trouble?
around, not really getting in trouble. I was a pretty good kid, to be honest. I also once started going to church pretty early in my life as well. So I've been going to church
Mm.
since like third grade. And I was always at friends' house for like after school programs. So like, yeah, my grandparents raised me, but I can't put a finger on one specific person.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They had so many influential people throughout my life that whether it was for a long period of time or for a short period of time, but have impacted me in one way or another and kind of helped mold me into the person I am today. They always say like America's the melting pot, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
Mm-hmm.
my upbringing was kind of like a melting pot because I had so many different influences kind of play a role in making me who I am today.
Have you had a chance to go back to República Dominican or Guatemala?
Yeah, so I went to Dominican Republic the first time 2019. I spent almost 4 weeks out there. That was a great time. And so
Wow.
I always say if you're going to a country, you gotta go to like un campo or algo así, tú sabes. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you have to really get in the
Disconnect.
community. Like going to Punta Cana on resort, cool, whatever.
Yeah.
But like you gotta really
Tourist.
go to campo. That's where it's really at. You get a feel for like the food, the taste, the community, the culture,
So you do
everything.
embrace your food and you
Oh,
do embrace your
100%.
culture.
I mean, I've been
Beautiful.
eating rice, beans, and chicken for like every day since I was born. Like, and I'll eat it every day until I die, and I would never get tired. Like rice, beans, and chicken. That is like my go-to. Arroz con habichuela. And
Okay,
then,
now you know it, people.
and so, and then my Guatemalan side. I've been to Guatemala twice. Once for the first time in December of 2023, and then more recently in July of this year, 2025. I got to go
Wow.
again. So Guatemala is cool. It's beautiful. It's very nice. It's also not DR. But I can't lie. My Guatemalan side of the family treats me better. So I like visiting there more. But like, you can't. I'm just too biased. I was born and raised from
Mm-hmm.
Dominicans.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Mm-hmm.
always gonna be at the
That's
center.
the stronger
And also
side.
like they dance. It's just the community is so much more lively. I
And
feel like
different.
it's not, you can't you
Okay.
can't take the Dominican out of me. I'm gonna be
I
biased
can
forever.
tell, mister. I can tell. So, John, you are the first Latino
hmm
that I have heard saying, you know what? I was raised by my grandparents.
hmm
Mom was not emotionally there. Dad was not physically there. And then I asked you, okay, so everything coming from your grandparents, and you said no. I kind of figured it out on my own, pretty much, right?
hmm
Like, yes, people has influence in your life, but how you Because you are so bright, always with a smile on your face. You're never upset or sad. You're always, onto your next project, onto your next
Mhm.
project. Not many people coming from this type of experiences when we're little, right, have that strength. How you found that strength when you were little? Because that is young. Like
Yeah.
now we can, now as an adult, we can be like, oh yeah, we go through something and we're like, yeah, we can surpass that. But being little, how
Yeah.
you tell me a little bit.
Yeah, so I think what most people would do in this situation where they're on a podcast and they're being interviewed would tell you like, I knew from a young age like I just need to work hard and I had big dreams and that's cool or whatever and more power to them. For me, when something is the norm and you don't know anything outside of it,
Mm-hmm.
you don't thinking like that. Again, I grew up in the projects. Did I have it hard? Did I have it well? Who knows? I wasn't thinking like that. And that was all I knew for that time period. So I wasn't thinking, oh, why aren't my parents around? Like, oh, life is so hard. Oh, poor me. No, it's like my grandparents raised me. That was just the norm. I didn't think
Mm-hmm.
anything of it.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really realize that until I got older. Like, oh, that isn't the norm. But at the end of the day, who cares? I was raised well. I came to be well. And I was healthy, had food. I got to play around, had a great childhood from what I think a great was for me. And I think once I started to get older, I started to get deeper into like working on myself. And there's a saying I love, right? Heavy is the crown, right?
Heavy as the crown.
Heavy is the crown. Everyone wants to be the king. Everyone wants to be the queen. No one wants what comes with it, right?
Wow, powerful.
And so again, growing up, there was no secret or shortcut or magic thing. Like, again, life was quote unquote hard, but
Mm-hmm.
when that's all you know, you're not thinking of it as it like that. You're just
Right,
thinking of it, this is the norm. This is just what we do.
right.
Right. Then as I started to get older, I started to realize, hey, maybe that's not the norm. But then again, I'm going to keep hitting you with quotes for the next 20 minutes or so that we're doing this. So, another quote, right? One can't wish for both a strong character and easy life because the price of one is the other. And so I'm glad that I grew up the way I did and was quote unquote hard because it made me the man I am today. And that foundation is going to help me build what I'm going to be in the future.
I love that. Do your grandparents always tell you like you have to go to college, you have to get the best job,
Mm,
and like what they always tell us, at least in my culture, that's
yeah.
what they tell you. You have to go to school, you have to get a job, you have to get married, and have kids.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then die.
Yeah. And then that, yeah. I made a joke, my grandpa. That's like the running joke is like, que yo no quiero trabajar como un burro, right? I don't want to work like a donkey my whole life. And my grandparents, they wanted me to go to college and graduate. I think for a lot of immigrants, that's like the pinnacle of the American
Mm-hmm,
dream. It's not
mm-hmm.
home ownership, it's your children or your grandchildren graduating college, right?
Absolutely.
And that's like for a lot of the elder generation,
Mm-hmm.
the generation that came prior, like seeing their kids and their grandchildren graduate school.
It's
Because a
like,
lot of these people, again, they're coming from campo. My grandparents
mm-hmm,
didn't go to school,
mm-hmm,
right? They didn't have that opportunity. And so they tie schooling with success,
mm-hmm.
right? And in order to get one, you need the other. That's how a lot of them think, and especially in my personal experience, how my grandparents thought. Now, in my situation, my grandparents on my mom's side have a lot of kids. And of their kids, they have a lot of grandchildren. So I had a big family. I have a bunch of cousins. Of the cousins, there's like 5 or 6 that are older than me. All of them had, and then this is not to talk badly about them, but they stayed back. School wasn't their main thing. So like, come my turn,
Mm-hmm.
I always excelled in school. I always had great grades. Was never in trouble in school. I never stayed back. And so like in my own family, they were like, "Oh, John's gonna be the first one to go to college. He's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be the one to graduate." And so they kind of started painting me as kind of like the golden boy, I guess you could
Mm-hmm.
say, right? And once I got there and dropped out, everyone wanted to give their 2 cents. Everyone was like, "Oh, Giancarlo, ¿qué pasa? What are you doing? Like,
Right, right.
you need to finish school." And everyone trying to, in my ear, trying to tell me what I need to do in my life. And one of the things I realized that, and this is a lot of times unintentional, a lot of parents or grandparents or family members, they try to live the life they wanted to through their children,
Mm-hmm.
through the younger generation. And because they
True.
weren't able to accomplish something, they're trying to live that out through their children instead of stopping and asking themselves, what is it that their children actually want and how can I help facilitate that? No, they're just like, oh, I wasn't able to go to school. Now my child has to go through. So they can
Mhm.
feel this internal sense of accomplishment, like, because they
Yeah, I'm
weren't
doing
able to
something
do that.
right with my
And
kid.
again, it's not a bad thing, but for me, it's like you already lived your life and you lived it however you decided to live it. That's between you and God. It's very selfish of you to try and live your life through me because now you're always trying to live two lives.
Mhm.
You already had yours and now you're trying to make me live what you wanted yours to be.
Mhm.
And so I always thought that to be pretty selfish. So for me, I was just like, yes, a lot of my family, they thought, again, like we mentioned earlier, that school is the pinnacle of success. You got to go to
Mhm.
school, you have to finish, right? And then find a good job. But for me, once the pandemic happened, I'm like, well, none of y'all been through a pandemic. So there's literally none of y'all can give me advice from
Uh,
experience because none
exactly.
of us experienced this. So who
Mhm.
know what the right path actually is? I had a little bit of a fire and an idea, and I just pursued it full, steam ahead.
Is that when AI came to your life
No, that's when
or
real estate came into my life.
real estate?
Yeah, so I
Okay.
tried to get into real estate investing first. I seen like a $500 course on real estate wholesaling, and I was like, it's a no credit needed, no cash needed. You just got to be 18 years old and you can get started real estate investing. I was like,
I'm
hey,
in.
I'm in. That's all I need. And I took the course. I got my LLC filed. I opened up my some logos and stuff like that. And I was ready to get going. Started calling up some attorneys, and one of them was like, "Oh, John, yeah, you can't do that in
Was this
Connecticut."
after pandemic?
This is middle pandemic. This
Oh,
is December
wow.
2021,
Wow.
right? Sorry, December 2020, going into January 2021. He was like, "Yeah, John, you can't do this. That's illegal. In order to transact in real estate, you need a real estate license."
Mhm.
Long story short, we can have a whole nother conversation on that. But at least in Connecticut, as long as you're off market,
Mhm.
wholesaling is perfectly fine. But again, that was the professional at the time. And so I was kind of bummed out for about like a month or two or so. And then I bumped into this one guy. I got connected with him via Zoom, but he was in commercial real estate. And at the end of our meeting, it was me, my old Boys and Girls Club counselor, and a buddy of mine. And he was like, "Hey, whatever you guys decide to do, just make sure you find a mentor." And I was like, "Okay,
Mm.
cool." So after the call, I emailed him, "Hey, you said, can we get a mentor? Can you be mine?" And he was like,
Easy.
"Cool."
Easy.
And so he ended up mentoring me for a little while, and he kind of resparked that fire in me. And I was
Mhm.
like, you know what? The real estate investor thing didn't work out. Let me try getting into it as an agent.
Mhm.
So that's when, this is now spring semester 2021, my fourth semester, still online. And I was like, you know what? Screw college. I signed for real estate university. It was like $540 for the class plus my books.
Mhm.
Paid that, stopped showing up to my college classes, and the rest is history. I started working at K Jewelers around that time, so I started picking that up, and then toward as we approached the summer, I picked up my job at the restaurant because they let me go for the wintertime just because it was
Mhm.
slow. And so at one point in time, that summer-ish 2021, I was working like 6 months straight, doing almost 60 hours a week plus studying for my real estate exam. Just had dropped out of college, and then 2 weeks after I turned 20, September 2021, that's when I finally got my real estate license. And that was when I kind of got into the real estate world. Fast forward a bit, 4 months into real estate, I taught my first social media class. That class had over 440 agents sign up for it, kind of kickstarted this whole teaching thing. Fast forward to even more, right? I was like, screw real estate. Let me go all in on the social media stuff. Started Stop and Stare Media. And as you know me with the hair, before you met me, I had even more hair. So if you thought
I
I had a lot then,
know.
I used to have a whole lot more. And I had this old saying, right? Stop and stare, just don't touch the hair. That was the $1 million tagline. And so when I was thinking of names for my business, I was like, well, what about Stop and Stare Media? Because anyone that knows me from back then knows this from the tagline.
Mhm.
Anyone moving forward knows that when you create content, you need people to stop the scroll and stare at your videos. So
Yeah.
it's like kind of like a little 2-in-1 marketing pun.
Love that. So
And
unique. So
yeah,
authentic.
yeah. And so I was going to continue doing the classes for free.
Mhm.
And then anyone who wanted to more help, I would just do the content for them,
Mhm.
right? Got my first client, hated that. So I'm like, all right, back to the drawing board. And so
Wow. So you were able to pivot.
a ton of times.
Oh,
Yeah, a
wow.
bunch of times. And then finally, I started using ChatGPT for myself, for my podcast, right? And after working with my first paid mentor, now this is January 2023, I decided to use ChatGPT to create a webinar on how to use ChatGPT.
Yeah. I love.
That popped off. At the end of it, Now, again, all my classes were free up to that point in time. At that point, I was like, "Hey, I'm teaching a workshop. It's 197. It's 20 spots. I was tripping over my words, but I was
Aw.
like, if you want, please, like, here's the link. 24 hours sold out, and so I made about $4,000 off of an AI class that AI created for me.
I
That
see.
was 3 months of me
That's
working at the restaurant, and
that's
that's when I got
taking
into AI.
that is really taking advantage of really know the worth of using these tools,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not going. A lot of people has negative comments about AI,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not seeing it how much if you really learn to use it, not just for emails, right, or
Mm-hmm.
Instagram descriptions posts. It can actually facilitate a lot more in
Mm-hmm.
your day to day, I think, right? You being an AI expert, have you found is getting a little ridiculous with AI today in today's day?
Yeah, I think there's something I've been working on behind the scenes about how people are using AI and where the industry is going. And I think we're heading down a really bad path. And I call this the four horsemen of the AI apocalypse.
Hmm.
So I made an email of my newsletter about this a couple weeks ago.
I saw that.
But the four horsemen is like, I think there's a lot of people that are incorrectly using
Mm-hmm.
AI.
100%.
And the big four mistakes that I'm seeing, right, are the first one, a lot of people are losing their creativity,
Mm.
right? They're deferring to AI to do all the creative thinking for them, right? Which is ironic because when AI first started getting popular, they thought that AI was going to come for all the hard labor jobs, right?
Yep.
All the hard, and now, I
I
mean,
remember.
those are the only people that are safe right now,
Yeah.
and all the creators, they're the ones getting replaced for all the AI content stuff, and so a lot of people are losing their creativity because they're just not being creative anymore. They just want ChatGPT to come up with all the ideas, to
Mm-hmm.
come up with the business plan and
Mm-hmm.
all the stuff, right? So that's the first big mistake. That's the first horseman of the apocalypse, right? The second one is a lot of people are losing their decision making, right? Remember the episode of SpongeBob? And for those who watch SpongeBob, there's an episode where they had the magic conch shell, right? So SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward, they ended up getting stranded in some like jungle, and they found this random shell that when you pull it and you ask it a question, it'll give you an
Yeah.
answer,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're like, can Squidward eat the soup? And they pulled the string, and this magic conch shell's like, no,
No.
right? Oh, can we give him a little bit? And they're like, no. And then very out of the blue, like they asked for some, should we stay in the jungle or should we leave? They're like, stay. And then next thing you know, a plane came by and dropped a whole bunch of food and resources randomly, coincidentally. And so now they thought that this magic conch shell had this all like sentient powers, right? And that it could give them all the answers. And that's what a lot of people are doing with ChatGPT. There's people that are asking ChatGPT to send for permission for like little stuff, like, hey, can I send out this email? And they're asking ChatGPT. And people don't
My
realize the
God.
more and more you give ChatGPT its power, the more it ends up like that magic conch shell episode where you
Mm-hmm.
can't think for yourself. You're deferring to ChatGPT and all these
Wow.
other AI tools for everything. So people are losing their creativity, they're losing their decision making. Another thing that people are losing, that I see a lot of when it comes to using AI, is they're losing that personal connection, right? Ever since social media has risen and become more accessible, right? People have felt more and more lonely. People feel more and more less and less connected,
Hmm.
despite having more access than ever to talk to people
Even in
from all
the
over the
same
country.
house, like
Yeah,
sometimes I found myself, all of us having dinner, and we
people
have
on
to
their
be like,
phone.
all
There's
right, no more phones
yeah,
because you're so like
stuck to it,
stuck
fixated
to
on
it.
the screens, and so people now they're trying to automate everything. They want AI to do all their calling, right? They want AI to respond to their comments. They want
Mm-hmm.
AI to write their emails, AI to write their blogs, AI to do literally everything. They want AI to clone themselves and record their videos,
Mm-hmm.
and like you have to think about it, like people already feel less connected. If you try to automate everything, yes, you're gonna get some leverage, but you're gonna lose people. And one of the things I learned when I got into the business is people do business with people they like, know, and trust. People can't like, know, and trust you if every time they try to reach out to you,
The
it's some
robot.
AI robot talking to yourself, right? And the last horseman of the AI apocalypse is people are losing their value, right? How so? Well, more importantly, not their value, their significance.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people are trying to clone themselves when it comes to AI. And if you think about it for a second, if you can get an AI robot to talk like you, to write like you, to think like you, and no one can tell the difference, why would anyone decide to work with you?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, for example, your service, right? There's a lot of other marketing agencies,
Oh yeah.
right? And there are a lot of ones that are cheaper than yours, and some of them are more expensive. But
Mm-hmm.
people work with Camilla because they love Camilla and the work that you do, right?
Yeah.
And it's not
So
because you
true.
created a brand new business idea. There's a million quadrillion social media agencies. Same thing with
Yeah.
me. Look up AI on YouTube right now. I promise you, I'm not top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Might not even be top 30. But people work with John because they like, know, and trust John,
Absolutely.
right? And so if you're in a service-based industry and you get an AI tool and that can, again, think like you, write like you, talk like you, and no one can tell the difference,
Mm-hmm.
then what value are you bringing to the marketplace? Because AI is smarter than you. AI doesn't need sick days. AI doesn't have a family to take care of. AI doesn't need vacations, right? AI is 24/7. It's connected to the internet. And it's, again, and if it can sound, think, and talk just like you, no one can tell the difference. Your value proposition moving forward is going to have to be more than, I provide great customer service. Cool. So can AI. And it works around the clock. And it talks better than you. And it has all the answers for you, right? It can't just be, oh, people work with me because I'm the knowledgeable expert. Okay, AI is trained on everything that known to man from all of history,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you can't, your value proposition is going to be, needs to be a lot stronger moving forward. And so those are kind of like the four horsemen of the AI apocalypse, right? People are losing their significance in the marketplace. People are losing their connections. People are losing their creativity, and people are losing the confidence in their decision making, right? And if we keep heading down that road, I think AI can end up becoming a very scary thing. And so I'm trying to teach people how to think about AI the right way so that they don't end up getting replaced and lost.
What would be one advice you
Yeah.
can tell the audience right now, moving forward with AI and everything that you're talking about, what's one advice that you can tell them?
Yeah. I think a lot of people are either intimidated or overwhelmed with AI. And I'll leave you with a quote to answer it simply. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Right. So it doesn't matter how you're using AI, if you are using it, if you're not. But if you want to get better at using it, there's so many tools out there. There's so many, I like to call it, there's a lot of like firework shows going on right now. Everyone's showing this new tool and that new tool, and they all can do all these different automation. It's so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, just master the basics, right? Right. One bite at a time. If you just are new to it, start with one tool. Let's say ChatGPT, right? Or if you're using a bunch of tools, try to simplify, cut down your tech stack, right? And just get better at the tools you're currently using instead of trying to add more and more tools on top of it. Because at the end of the day, if you sign up for 8 softwares and you're only using 2, you wasted your time on the other 6, right? And with everything in life, there's always going to be a learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
And so the beginning of learning something new is always the most inefficient because you're taking so much to finally figure it out. And so if you're just be wasting your time trying to figure out things that you end up not using, that time could be put back into things that actually matter, like taking care of your clients.
John, thank you so much for sharing this. It is a very interesting and at the same time scary topic, right? That not everyone is willing to confront, right? Because, like you said, they're either overwhelmed or they're scared. But I think it's very important to continue being educated because this is the beginning, and I just feel like it's just gonna get worse. It's gonna keep advancing, and who knows what's gonna happen down the road. But coming from being raised by your grandparents, pivoting your whole career, what would you like, or where do you see your legacy is gonna be?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. When it comes to legacy, it's hard to say because so many things came to me so quickly and I just been pivoting and figuring it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I think overall, like long term is just really just showing people behind the scenes of all the things that I'm doing in hopes that it helps them make a more educated decision, whether it's getting into entrepreneurship, whether it's the stuff I talk about on my podcast, and like just helping other people that I feel like my legacy and where I in the future eventually want to head down towards is there's a lot of people who are like me that weren't entrepreneurial growing up. And also felt like the traditional track wasn't for them,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't know how to articulate what they wanted for themselves. Like I didn't know I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was or starting a business. Like I just thought, like what we talked about earlier, got to go to school, hopefully
Mm-hmm.
find a job that you don't hate, and then work till you die. Right? That was the path that was laid out for me. But if I was aware of other options, who knows how life would have happened. So I want to definitely show like the behind the scenes of the journey while I'm still on the journey, so that people can hopefully find inspiration in that, and not because I have the best advice, but just because I showed the behind the scenes, and again in hopes that it inspires.
Being authentic,
Yeah.
being real, because there's so much that successful people don't share because they either are ashamed of it or they just want to make it look like life is perfect, which is
Mm.
not. And I thank you so much for being here and sharing the true stories behind John Méndez, or
Yeah.
AI, or favorite AI coach. John, what you got going on in the next couple of months? I know people, you have to sign up for his premiere. I already bought my ticket and I took advantage of the early bird
Yep.
deal because on your birthday, I couldn't get that early bird deal. So I want you to tell the audience where
Yeah.
they can find you. What are you coming up events, most
Yeah.
important webinars, seminars? Get on following this gentleman, because if you haven't get to know him, he has been, ever since I met him, I went to his birthday last year.
Yeah.
And because of this dude, I got to meet my mentor Brendan. I got to meet people within marketing, and I saw my growth
Yeah.
in just a year.
Yeah.
And so please follow him. Tell them where can they find you.
Yeah, so I say the number one place to get access to me, right? We talked about AI today. We talked about it being overwhelming. And so over the past 3 years, from talking to thousands of business owners, from going to tons of speaking engagements, I've compiled down a AI starter kit, which has like my best prompts that you can just plug and play into your business and instantly start saving a bunch of time.
And I love the marketing you do with it, because on your birthday you had the Afro kid and his flyers. I'm like, wait,
yeah.
that's John.
Yeah, so that AI starter kit, again, it's not just random prompts I had ChatGPT created. These are like specific plug and play systems you can plug into your ChatGPT and instantly start cooking up a bunch of things, from business plans to scripts and role play partners to content calendars. Like,
Is there a discount for like friends forever?
guess what? It's 100% free. So all you have to do is go to stopandstare.media/AI. Again, that's stopandstare.media/AI. And as a gift to you and everyone here listening to the 5 Star Realty Podcast, that is the best thing I can gift you guys to help you take your business, take your personal life to the next
Yay.
level, is really start implementing AI. And so I did all the heavy lifting, all the hard work, and put it together, and I'm giving it away to you guys for free.
And that's your website.
Mm.
What's your Instagram?
Yeah, so once you get that, you'll be able to find me everywhere else. So go there,
Just go
get
to
that,
the
get the starter
website.
kit, and then once you fall in love with that, you're gonna want to find me everywhere else. So,
Your
but that'll be
premiere
easy.
is coming up.
That is coming up October 30th. Yes, that's going to be a documentary that I'm putting together for me reaching 300 podcasts on my own pod. And so I'm documenting that journey right now and premiering the actual. And again, it's gonna be like Netflix style. Like it's not gonna be like
missing it.
it's not gonna be like, some random footage of me talking to a camera and like, nah. I got a professional videographer like to shoot some dope footage, and he's gonna be putting it all together. So I'm gonna start promoting that in October. So again, once you get that starter kit, you'll be on my email list and you'll probably hear about it. So
Yeah.
get that starter kit. And
I
it's
don't
free.
miss the news. Okay, shout out to somebody.
I want to give
Special?
the biggest shout out in the world to Guillermo and his team at 5 Stars Realty for putting this together. I seen and got to listen to a little bit of the behind the scenes of what it took to put this together. He did not cut any corners when it came to creating this podcast, creating the studio.
Thank you.
But more importantly, I want to give a big shout out to you, Camilla, for hosting this. I know what it takes to be a podcast host. I know what it takes to, put all this amazing stuff together. And again, ever since you came into my life, we've connected, we hit it off, and now you're in this, and I see you doing all your amazing things. And so,
Thank you.
I know a lot of the challenges behind the scenes, but you wear all those challenges well. You wouldn't be able to tell you're doing great, and I hope
you.
that I continue to see your rise to the top.
Yeah, we're going to be rising together. And I thank you again very much. So here you have Mr. Méndez.
Mr. Méndez.
Believe it or not, he done comedy too. Thank you, John, one more time for being here. Please follow him. Do not miss on this opportunity for free. My goodness, you're giving your whole entire work and everything you're built with AI, giving it out. So make sure if you like this video, comment, like, subscribe. You want to say bye-bye to your audience?
Bye-bye, 5 stars, until we see you next time.
Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.